Mongoose Jake here with a couple of games on the province map. That's a map that's well suited to both a patient but tactical approach. You can push up either side on the roads as long as you do it at the right moment. And playing the long game is also well suited for this. I'm just looking at the M10 RPFM. It's like if you're bumping into somebody, how about just let off the gas for just a second and let them pass. Some people, it's just full W all the way till they're dead. That M10 RBFM. The most hilarious thing is that he ends up right beside me anyways. But of course, first order of business is to take out the light tanks. If you can on this map, because pretty much vision and long-range support fire are really critical on Province, and I think that's why some people really don't like it, because it does cater to a kind of patient and stealthy long-range gameplay, and you're going to see that in both games. And here, of course, with the Jagdpanzer IV, I'm platooned up with my wife in her Excalibur, and she's got her favorite spot down there at the junction of J3 or J4 and K4 along with J3 K3. She loves that little spot there that's got a bush right up on top of a ledge. And early, I prefer this position. As you can see, it offers a number of avenues of fire to cover a couple of approaches. Light tanks will try to do just like the Leopard did and cross to get underneath of you. Well, tank destroyers can certainly spot, as I was the one who spotted that Leopard. And very, very nice little pixel shot into the top of the Churchill 1. That poor tank. The Churchill 1, that's got to be one of the worst tanks overall outside of a good gun, because the turret itself, the whole thing's a weakness. And that's something you can't really hide if you want to get your gun involved. And it's supposed to be a heavy. So I feel sorry for the Churchills always. But back to the Jagdpanzer IV and the province map. There are multiple times where you can get aggressive, especially once enemies have thinned out. Because early, it's a bad move to get too aggressive too quick. You just have too many tanks providing vision, providing many, many, many different kinds of crossfire. And on this map, as you can see, our A20 and our T50-2 are both, they're playing aggressive, but they're playing it smartly. If you've noticed, even just the ones we've thinned out so far, we've gotten rid of both of their light tanks, and their team made a big mistake. Early, you can push across, and it allows you to have enough of a crossfire that you can keep your team covered. They should have put 6, 7 tanks on our side. And if they had done that, this would not be turning the way it is right now. Now, it's 6-3, of course, and it's about to get worse with that the super chaffy. But it's about to get worse. And it didn't have to. If they had sent, a third of their team across, instead of just the 2 light tanks charging across, if they'd sent a third of their team, so 5-6, they could have easily bogged down our team and then kept a safe crossfire for each other. And that's kind of the tactic to win Province. It's not real a hidden secret or anything. It's you slow down the enemy team's push up your side while trying to get enough of your team across to their side to cause some chaos. And then you keep your spotters alive, try to keep your tank destroyers alive, and the spotters and the tank destroyers can work together to thin out the enemy, and then your mediums and heavies can push in. Well, what's happening right now is, do you see we gained a large early lead, and it all looked well and good. But looking at it, you'll notice now all of a sudden my wife over there in Excalibur, not a vehicle that's capable of doing what she's attempting to do. Of course, she went over there when she had a lot of support. But the mediums and heavies pushed too soon. We hadn't thinned them out yet. You have to thin out the enemies before trying to do the push. And yes, it is a slow process that a lot of players don't enjoy. It's more of a patience game, which caters to me very well because I'm kind of a deliberate tactical gameplay kind of person. And I think that's why you end up seeing a lot of times I've got videos from Province. It just suits my gameplay. But we've completely stalled out on our push. We have a 3 tank lead, and we have around about an 800 hit point lead. Nope, not anymore. That's how the push can stall if they do the wrong thing. Our team basically kind of secured the southern portion of the enemy flank, and they just try to push straight up. Well, the way these maps are designed is that, especially on that eastern side, which the enemy has as their spawn point, especially on the eastern side, the push, if you're trying to go from south to north, it's a killing field. You can kind of make quick short dashes in between the buildings and make a little bit of progress. But as soon as you get to the point just south of where the VK 30.01p and the SU-100 were spotted, as soon as you get to that point, you stall out, or you get killed, or you just have to wait for your team to thin out the enemies, and you have to make a couple of flanking maneuvers. My wife was making one, it's just that her vehicle wasn't suited to it. The Excalibur is a good tank destroyer, but it is not able to do what needed to be done. It's too chunky, no armor, and just like our KV2, he was trying to get an angle on that T1 Heavy, but he's so easily spotted in that position he was in. And I'm not going to make the same mistake. Of course, the Jagdpanzer IV is much more stealthy, and I have much more mobility than the KV2, so now I'm going to be the best suited for this. Now, you've seen me drive all the way north. The M10 RBFM's still down there, along with the artillery, which, if nothing else, if somebody tries to push up, we'll see, at least by the spotting of the M10, or if he just simply gets killed, we'll know that somebody's there. And even the artillery, they can act as tripwires, even if it's just sacrificial style. But we don't need to be down there. And right now, the T1 Heavy on the enemy team has not proved to be anything at all in the way of aggressive. So I don't need to worry about him at all. He's not going to make a move. The VK, however, has been fairly mobile, but he's almost dead. So if we can get him out of the game, I think that then I can make a move. But I have to get rid of the VK. So that's why I'm repositioning here. I wish artillery would just lob a couple shots in on both sides of that rock and splash him because he's so low on health. But I'm not going to count on that. Especially in late game situations, I do not like to count on teammates at all. If I can do it, I will. I'm not going to count on the teammates because that's when you can slip up and have a loss all of a sudden out of something that should have been or could have been a win. Because all I need to do is get rid of the VK. If the VK's gone, I don't suspect the SU-100 to get aggressive. And the T1 Heavy has had every chance to be aggressive, and he's not. So all I need to do, eliminate the VK, and then go push the enemy cap. And there's part one of the equation. I got spotted here, and I almost suspected that the SU-100 might take a shot at me. So I hug the rocks and motor out. Keep going around to the back, and now I need to get back to the north. If I can get back to the north, the T1 Heavy on my team hasn't moved. But he was willing to fire his gun. So he's the kind of player that if you give him a target, he will shoot it. But he's not going to be proactive. And that's fine. That's fine. You kind of have to learn to read the situation, learn to read your teammates. And in this case, I'm going to use that to my advantage. And obviously I have a very proactive artillery, SU-8. He has moved to get a good angle on their T1 Heavy or on their base. Now I'm not spotting anything, and I had my wife, I was talking to her here side by side, and I asked her to try to get the M10 to go south. If I go north and he goes south, maybe we can flush out either the T1 or the SU. At the very least, the M10 could be distraction. Let me get into position here, because I am stealthy enough. You see I'm hugging the buildings. My only fear is getting spotted right here. And if I don't get spotted, I can easily sneak into these bushes, start the cap, and that now puts the pressure 100% on the enemy. Now, I did not want the T1 Heavy to come down, but a lot of players, if one teammate starts a cap, they're going to go to it. Never could explain it, because he was in a better position where he was than now. Because now he's spotted, of course. And he's not stealthy. I obviously hit the ledge there, but now with the T1 gone, that's it. The SU could come down. I am not going to go chase him. But now I know where the SU is. The SU was in position to shoot the M10 and not get spotted, so he's still across. So no chance of losing this if I just camp out. And that's exactly what we do. Taking the win, the sure win, over the possible better result. Well, already had 7 kills, aced it with about 3,000 damage, and also had almost 1,500 spotting. So more than good enough result. Yes, a Radley Walters would have been nice, but I wasn't going to risk the sure win after that long drawn-out game. And then, again, about 3,000 damage, 7 kills, and over 1,300 base experience. And that was a pure snipe with a bit of spotting out of the Jagdpanzer IV on Province. Didn't have to fire any premium. Never should be firing any premium out of a top tier 6 battle. If you got tier 5s, they're on an uphill fight already. And yet again, tier 6, tier 5 split. And again with my wife, this time she's in her T78, and this time I've swapped over to the Dicker Max, changing to a different tier 6 German tank destroyer. It's actually kind of neat that this thing was real. Didn't make a lot of them, but it was kind of neat that it's real. More of a bunker buster than a tank destroyer, but still, here in World of Tanks, we're not blowing up bunkers. And as you see, I do favor this spot, especially for the very, very early game. Because once you're set up, you have a chance. Last game, I spotted the enemy light who was trying to get underneath of us. This time, this T-14's about to lose some health. A nice 326 damage shot. And that's freebie damage. And this rock, of course, provides enough hard cover that if I do get spotted, that I could easily roll back. Now, I did slip up here. I should have been pre-aiming again on the same exact spot, and I could have got another 300 damage hit. This time I could have got it into the KV-1, and that would have been critical. Now, I have been looking because a lot of enemy teams will try to make an early push to the south, which is a big mistake for the exact reasons that this heavy tank number 6 is going to find out. That if you try to drive to the south and you don't do it absolutely instantly in a very fast vehicle, you're going to be caught on flat ground that has no cover of any kind. And I was able to put 2 shots into him, so he's lost around about 600 health for nothing gained. And there's nothing wrong with trading health if it gives you an advantage. Many times I have lots of health left because of the playstyle I have. So if I have a lot of health left towards the end of a game, then I can in turn use it to protect teammates by taking hits for them. Or if an enemy's one shot and I am not, well, I can easily trade a little bit of my health for a kill. But early game, you don't want to be sacrificing your health, especially for 0 return, because that puts you at a deficit for the rest of the game, like our team is. My team here is now down 2,000 hit points, along with 2 tanks. And worse yet, look at the map. Every single vehicle we have is located south of the F row. If you look, the farthest north is at G3 and at G89. So we have 0 map control. Not even on our own side. Our own side here, we're losing control. Now, the T1 Heavy is pushing back, and he's already lost health. The S35CA and the SU-85, they should already be back. And sometimes I'll try to get people to fall back, but mostly it goes on deaf ears, so I will typically just do what I know I need to do. And teammates, if they're not paying attention, they're going to have to learn. Now our team has actually had a little bit of success over in the east. And they're going to try to push. But looking at it, they're not pushing correctly. Again, what I had said in the Jagdpanzer IV game. Once you pass that midway point where our T-3485M and Super Chaffee is, once you're past that, or it's a standard Chaffee, once you're past that, it's a killing field. The same is true on this side. Once the enemies clear the buildings, they have no cover, while you have all the concealment. And their Nashorn is actually playing it wrong. He should never be seen. He should be all the way up there at A9, near the rock, behind multiple layers of concealment, and he should be letting the AT spot for him. Because there's an AT2 over there in the buildings. Well, if the AT2 just puts his side against one of the buildings, the T-3485M has to push around to get him, and the Nashorn could just be lighting him up with the 88. Just like we're going to attempt to do here to their tanks. Because they have the T-14, they get the T-34, they've got the KV-1 and M10 RBFM, and possibly by now also the VK. So when they clear the buildings, look at what awaits them. Now the S-35CA got a good shot in, took out the T-14. Now if they actually make it down here, my wife's moving up with her T-78 because the T-1 Heavy fell back too far. If you're going to do a last stand here and you have a Heavy, the Heavy should go to the corner of G1. That way, as soon as anybody gets spotted, they get shot by your teammates, and the Heavy can kind of be the holding block. Sneak in that shot because the M10 RBFM was halfway behind the building, but if I've got half of it, D-Max gun isn't the most reliable German gun there is, but when it hits hard. And this poor guy has probably been driving the entire battle only to get obliterated. The Valiant. Poor guy in this thing. I actually went and 3-marked that thing, but it is so slow. Now the T-3485M unfortunately came and showed up with full health. And we still don't know if the VK-3001H, if he has pushed up yet. Now if he's up here, that complicates things just a little bit. The T-3485M has just enough armor that the T-78 or the D-Max or the T-1 Heavy will bounce most shots off of the upper frontal plate when firing regular rounds. It's one of those tanks that it absolutely is built to counter regular ammo. But for now, I'm going to actually look and see if I can't help across the way. And now we know that the VK did not push up yet. This is actually big for us because I was able to sneak in a shot into the other full health enemy medium. So now at least they're manageable. And I also know that the T-3485M, more importantly, is alone. The only other one that could have been over here with him was the VK. So I don't believe the SU-85 would have pushed up. At the time playing this, typically one of the only remaining enemy tank destroyers would probably be in the A or B, 9-0 area. That's where you expect. So you play based on expectations, but be ready to handle anything as it's given to you. But the DZ over there, the DSPZ, that's unusual abbreviations, but he's just now been taken out. So it's thinned out to the point where, okay, can make a push. I have the health. I am loading one premium shell because of what I said earlier. The T-3485M, it will bounce the regular rounds of a D-Max pretty frequently if you are aiming at the upper front plate or the turret. However, one round of APCR in a close game situation is well worth it. So, loaded that. Now I'm back to regular. Because the VK, it's a good tank. Used to be better. Of course, if you remember it as a tier 6, it was the fast German medium. You had the 3000 or 30.01p as the 88 carrying, kind of punchy but big and chunky medium. You had the 30.01h as the fast one. I used to run around with the howitzer. But now it runs all real fast firing weapons, but they took away every bit of speed it had. Unfortunately, my wife got spotted, and now we know exactly where the SU-85 is. Unfortunately, she found out basically by taking the shot straight to the face. But he is, of course, right there where I suspected, up in the A or B area, across in the concealment. Now, the Matilda BP, S-35CA, and the T-3045M have all stalled out. If the Nashorn has fallen back, he will be hard to dig out. Not based on his armor, because it has no armor. But he didn't fall back. The Nashorn, it needs concealment. They're misplaying it, and that's actually a great thing, because the Nashorn could 100% make a stand and win this game. With that 88 firing every few seconds, because you can get it down to be about every 5.5 seconds, with more than enough penetration to go through everybody twice over. You have to hate when that happens, when you have it set up just a perfect lead for them to keep rolling back and they stop. That would have been a perfect engine shot right there. You know, you could picture catching him on fire, tracking him at the same time. He fixes the track, the engine's still out. Fixes the engine, track's still out. Unless they carry a big repair kit. But now it's time for me to get down here, and with just the SU-85 and the Hummel left, I need to get up here and help out. And I'll be honest, I would like a Top Gun. The last time you see me, I took the win over the Radley Walters. However, in this situation, I feel like I'm better off getting up here to help out. Because we know where the SU-85 is. He's not hidden. And he can't, unless he's running the howitzer, which I know that he's not, because my wife got hit by him, and she got hit with AP. I actually run the howitzer, the 122, on my SU-85, just as silly and fun. But he's running the 85 as you should. It's by far the better weapon. So he can't kill me in a shot. The Hummel possibly could, but I'm going to be careful here. Try to see if I can't spot the Hummel. The SU-85 is very, very hard to spot. It's extremely stealthy. But with both the S-35 CA and me moving in, the S-35 is not a one-shot. It's going to take the SU-85 2 shots for him and 2 shots for me. So one of us will get the chance to spot him. Now, I track him, so it's up to the S-35 CA to finish him off unless I reload. And I did. Now, there's the Hummel. Now it's absolutely a sure win. Even if the Hummel reloads, because the D-Max is slow, even if he reloads, the S-35 could definitely finish him off. But I get a chance for a little bit of revenge. Serve him his own dose of HE. And the D-Max ends up again with almost a Radley Walters. Ended up with 7 kills, ace tanker, tank sniper, and of course a Top Gun. So in the end, both are ace games, both are 7 kills. However, the D-Max did manage a bit of extra damage. I got another 700 damage or so compared to the Jagdpanzer IV. Both games kind of long drawn out and close games in the end. Very enjoyable. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.